region, because the onset of cervical cancer, it starts from the transformation zone. This is the area where which needs to be sampled for screening, because the cervical cancer, it starts at the transformation zone, which is located at the external os. It is in between the junction of matlab, the new and the older squamocolumnar junction. The transformation zone lies between the new and the older squamocolumnar junction. Majority of the cases of cervical cancer, they are caused by HPV infection. I've already told what type of DNA virus is the HPV. HPV is non-enveloped double-stranded DNA virus with more than 100 types. And HPV 6 and 11, it is related to condyloma occurrence. Okay, so warts, it is low risk, not high risk for malignancy, but leads to warts formation, condyloma formation. But high risk for malignancy are 16, 18, 31, 33, 35, 39, 45, 51, 52, 58, 59, and 68. So multiple HPV genomes, HPV types can lead to cervical cancer. And the most important of all these are 16 and 18. HPV 16 is present in around 55% of cervical cancer, while 18 is found in around 15% of cervical cancers. And they both account for two-thirds of the cancer of cervix and half of the precancerous stage of CIN 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so 16 and 18 are high risk HPV, which patients which have to be screened for. So 16 and 18, they alone lead to more than 75% of cervical cancer and more than 50% of vaginal and vulvar cancer. And 6 and 11, they are non-cancer causing HPV, lead to 90% of anogenital warts. Now, what are the changes which occur before the onset of cervical cancer? So, there is normal mucosa. The cervical mucosa goes through a series of changes before developing into full-blown carcinoma, and screening in such cases becomes a viable option to catch the disease in a younger stage. So, there is a normal cervical mucosa which leads to further dysplasia and then leads to low-grade intraepithelial lesion, CIN1, then high-grade CIN2 and CIN3, high grade intraepithelial lesion. So if you can see HPV and infection, it looks like the first slide. This further goes on to formation of CIN1, or within 6 to 12 months, the patient, almost all the women have HPV infection if they are sexually active. So and this is important that all women in a sexually active age, they will have HPV infection. And because of immunity or immune mechanism, within 6 to 12 months, generally HPV infection disappears. But in some patients, in few of the patients, it leads on to CIN1, and on an average around 6 to 2 years, it takes to leads to CIN2 or 3. It progresses CIN1 after 6 months to 2 year, it progresses to next stage of CIN2 or 3, and after CIN2 and 3, it takes around 10 to 12 years to go into stage of invasive carcinoma. So the history of cervical cancer from HPV infection to the proper invasive condition, invasive cervical cancer, it takes around 10 to 12 years. So this is important. If you catch the patient within these 10 to 12 years and manage it appropriately, then the malignancy can be avoided. That is the importance of cervical cancer screening. So as you know, it is normal epithelium on the extreme left side of your slide. Then HPV infection occurs, which is seen as poilocytosis. If we do a smear of the cervical smear, and then if the lower one third of mucosa involved, then it is known as CIN1. Then CIN2 and CIN3 moderate disease, and the lower two-third is involved. Then if the CIN3, whole of the cervical mucosa is involved with the poilocytosis, and then if it invades the basal mucosa, then it leads to invasive cervical cancer. The progression from onset of HPV infection to CIN1 takes months, okay, and then from CIN2 and CIN3 to cervical cancer itself takes around years, 10 to 12 years. And by self immunity, immune mechanism, around 57% of CIN1 patients they regress to the normal stage, and 43% of CIN2 there is likelihood of regression to normal cervix, and in CIN3 around 32% regress because of self immune defense of the body of the females. They regress on their own. Only few of the patients they progress to cervical cancer, which needs to be treated. Now, what are the prevention strategies for cervical cancer? The most important primary prevention is patient education and vaccination. And we have vaccines available in the market against these HPV 16, 18, 31, and 33. These are known as Cervarix and Gardasil. Gardasil 9 has 9 against 9 HPV viruses. Gardasil has against 4 HPV viruses, and Cervarix is against HPV 2, 16, and 18 HPVs. Gardasil is against 16, 18, 31, and 33. Cervarix is against 16 and 18. So Gardasil protects against both anogenital warts and cervical cancer. High risk type HPV 16 and 18. Gardasil 9 is against 9 kind of HPV viruses. This is primary prevention by education of the females that they have to undergo screening and vaccination. Secondary prevention is screening and early diagnosis and treatment at an earlier stage in CIN 1, 2, or 3. And tertiary prevention is stage wise treatment of the disease and palliative treatment and rehabilitation according to the stage of the disease, radiotherapy or surgery. Once the patient has already had cervical cancer, then it comes the tertiary prevention. And this is the HPV vaccine. The Cervarix dosing schedule is 0, 1, and 6 months, and it has to be given intramuscularly. And it can be given in all the, preferably in the women who have not started sexual intercourse. Gardasil, it is dosing schedule is 0, 2, and 6 months. It is again 6, 11, 16. You can see the wrapper of the vaccine. It is again 6, 11, 16, and 18. Okay, so it protects against both cervical cancer and anogenital warts. Now, vaccination, the appropriate age is 11 to 12, but it can be given as early as 9 years. In female, it should be given between 13 to 26 years. And in males also, because it protects against anogenital warts, it can be given between 13 to 21 years of age. It should be given. It protects against and penile cancer also. And schedule less than 15 years, you can give 0, 6, and 12 months. But if second dose is given within 5 months of the first dose, then the third dose is given. So it is given in a 3-dose schedule at 0, 6, and 12. In HIV and immunosuppressed, 3 doses are given before 15 years, 0, 1 to 2 months, and then 6 months. It is contraindicated in acute severe illness, but not in mild urinary tract infection or diarrhea. Okay, so it can be given in all male as well as female, and the dosing schedule is 0, 2, and 6. It should not be given in pregnancy, but if one dose is given in pregnancy, then next dose is withheld till pregnancy is over. Okay, it should be avoided in pregnancy or acute severe illness, any systemic illness. And in all uh, sexually who are not sexually active females, preferably between 11 to 12 years. Why in the pre-pubertal age group? Because there are cervical changes going on. The cervical metaplasia is occurring at that stage, and the cervical the transformation is zone is forming at that age of 11 to 13 years, and the patient is having, the woman is having puberty, the girl is having pubertal changes. There is active multiplication of cells undergoing. So the vaccination is most effective, and that is the reason also why it is a high risk factor if there is early onset of sexual activity, because the cells are multiplying at that time. When there is exposure to carcinogen in the form of sexual activity, then it is more likely to go to the stage of cervical cancer. The early onset of sexual activity is a risk factor for cervical cancer. because the cells are multiplying in the transformation zone. The squamous metaplasia is occurring at this age. And the vaccination is also most effective if it is given in the pubertal age group of 11 to 13 years. Okay. So this is the testing in conventional pap smear. It was started in 1949, and then in 1996 it was replaced by liquid based cytology, which we are doing in our OPD these days. If you have seen in the OPD, we have a blue colored vials kept and a plastic broom like, I will show you, stick which is rotated in the cervical transformation zone, and the sample is taken in the vial. And then in 2000 HPV testing came on, and then a, a specific marker for HPV are also available, which can be used for cervical cancer screening. Then what are the types of screening methods which can be applied to the girl or woman? One is conventional cytology, which you all know, pap smear, which is done by Ayer spatula. Okay, and the slide is made. And then other is liquid based monolayer cytology, which we are doing nowadays. And then HPV viral testing. We test for the presence of HPV 16 and 18 in the cervical secretions. And then testing in resource poor areas. So those are direct visualization of the cervix, and then without any aid, or which can visualize the cervix with after applying acetic acid. This is known as visual inspection via VIA, visual inspection using acetic acid. Or we can use villi, that is visual inspection after lugol iodine application on the cervix. These are testing in resource poor areas. So, what are the guidelines of doing screening? In if the female is, I'm not saying patient, because it is she is not having cervical cancer. These are normal, perfectly normal females. Okay, so if the female is less than 21 years, the screening, any of the screening method is not recommended. In between 21, because as I told you, all females are going to have HPV infection. It is inevitable with the sexual activity. The females, all females get HPV infection, so there is no need of testing in less than, or she is not sexually active also, so it is not required in less than 21 years. In between 21 to 30 years, the female should undergo pap smear or liquid based cytology every 3 yearly. And between 30 to 65 years, pap smear every 3 yearly, or pap smear plus HPV testing every 5 yearly. If it is joined with the pap smear is done with HPV testing, then the testing frequency may be extended to 5 years, or you can have HPV testing every 5 yearly. Patient who are immunocompromised like HIV or other immunosuppressive condition, then yearly screening is recommended. So this chart is important. At less than 21 years, there is no need of screening. Between 21 to 30 years, every 3 yearly LBC or pap smear, and 30 to 65 pap smear or LBC every 3 yearly or 5 yearly if it is combined with HPV testing. In immunocompromised, every yearly screening should be done. In more than 65 years of age, screening can be stopped if three consecutive previous negative PAPs or LBC are there, or two consecutive negative co-testing with HPV in the last 10 years. So she had two HPV tests which are negative for last 10 years. The screening can be stopped in age more than 65 years, or three consecutive negative. Matlab, around 10 years she has been any lesion free. That means she is not having any CIN 1, 2, or 3 at that time, at the age of 60, for last 10 years. So the disease progression itself develops, takes 10 to 15 years. So at 65, if you stop that, there is less chances she is having cervical cancer later on. And secondly, in the postmenopausal period, this transformation zone recedes up. So there are very less chances of having HPV infection after 65 to 70 years. Women with treatment of CIN or cervical cancer, they are also screened every 3 yearly or 20 years after the abnormality is detected. And post-cystectomy patient for benign lesion, if the cervix is removed, there is no need for cervical cancer screening. Or in patients who are immunized. vaccinated women, the routine screening, that is after 21 years of age, every 3 yearly, or if it is combined with HPV, then till 65 years of age, they need screening. After 65, you can stop. Now let's see one by one, take one by one the screening method. First is the pap smear. The pap smear or the conventional cytology, it is a test of screening to detect potentially precancerous or cancerous process in endocervical canal on the transformation zone of the female reproductive tract. It was developed by George Papanicolaou in 1944 and was used first time on his wife. So the name of pap smear, it is by the person who discovered this test, George Papanicolaou in 1944. He collected the secretions from posterior fornix by using a glass pipette and spread it on glass slide. Then it is exfoliative cytology. Already the cells are shed, and then he collected and then made it on a smear on the glass slide. Later, Ayer started cervical scraping method by using Ayer spatula. In 1947, the Ayer spatula was introduced for pap smear testing. Later on, endocervical brush was also added to take sample from the endocervical canal. So nowadays, if we take pap smear, we use Ayer spatula, wooden spatula, along with the endocervical brush, and then smear is made on a single slide with both the things. What are the prerequisites before having pap smear? It should be done in post-menstrual phase or any time from the menstruation, preferably in the post-menstrual phase. And abstinence should be advised before 48 hours before undergoing the test. Patient should be advised that no douching or no use of vaginal tampon or no intravaginal cream or contraceptive cream should be applied 48 hours before the test. Any associated cervicitis or vaginitis, it should be treated before pap smear testing. Procedure: how do we do? Specimen should be obtained after a non-lubricated speculum, and the speculum should, no antiseptic solution should be applied. It should not be dipped in on the speculum. It should not be dipped in betadine or Savlon. It should be normal saline only if required. It should be used for lubrication. Excess mucus or other discharge should be removed by gently by forceps holding a folded gauze. Okay, the cervix should not be rubbed or blotted vigorously as the dysplastic epithelium may be removed, giving scanty cells or negative pap smear. So you should not rub the cervix hard. An optimal sample includes cells from ectocervix and endocervix. Transformation zone should be sampled, mandatory site for sampling, because the cervical, as I told you, the cervical cancer, it originates from the transformation zone. Now if we see the cervix, this is how the cervix looks like. If we introduce a, which speculum is used, it should be a bivalve self-retaining speculum. Okay, sims should not be used. The cusco speculum is introduced, and if we see the arrow is showing the junction of the pink cervical skin and the red endocervical canal. The endocervical canal is dark pink, and the cervical cancer, the ectocervix, is light pink in color, and the junction is the transformation zone. Okay, that is the area which needs to be sampled, and most likely the site of dysplasia, because it is a transformation zone. Now, these are the spatula which are used for pap smear. The first is the endocervical brush, uh, which is taken inside the endocervical canal for sampling. The third thing is the wooden Ayer spatula, the and which is tongue shaped. It is used for taking the sample from the transformation zone. Okay, and this is wooden, and the below is a plastic Ayer spatula. Then cervix broom or cytoprep instrument. These are the lower two things. These are used for the sampling for liquid based cytology. So the upper one, the endocervical brush, and the spatula, the middle two. We don't use cotton swab for taking the sample generally. The endocervical brush and the Ayer spatula, these two are used for taking the pap smear, and the broom, it is the anterior end is detachable. This white end is detachable, and this blue one is uh, thrown away. While this white thing, after taking the sample from the transformation zone, this is broken from this. This is detachable, and it is put in the fixative. which is available in the vial, blue colored vial for LBC. Okay, so you have to, these things are kept in your exam for practicals for identification, so you have to know it. Now this is the IR spatula. This smaller arrow, it shows the area which has to be rotated around the transformation zone for sampling. Okay, the concave end has to fit the cervix. The convex end for the vaginal wall and the vaginal pool scraping. One end is longer so that spatula fits the external walls. So the longer one, the longer side of the the spatula, it goes inside the inside. It is kept inside, and the shorter one is kept outside. Okay, this thing is showing the IR spatula. It is over the this thing. First we take sample from the by the using the IR spatula, and then we introduce the longer the D. This is A. This is the sample is taken from the cul-de-sac. Second is IR spatula. We don't you do this B or A, and then we use this C and D. Just concentrate on C and D. The longer lip of the air spatula, it goes inside the canal. Okay, and it is rotated by 360 degree once, and then it is taken out, and the smear is made. Then we introduce the endocervical brush inside the endocervical canal, and then rotate it by 180 degree, and then make another smear on the same slide. Okay, so the figure C and D, the longer lip of the IR spatula goes inside the cervical canal and take the sample from the transformation zone, and then make a smear on the slide, and then introduce the endocervical brush inside the endocervical canal and make another smear on the same slide of the patient, and then without drying put it in the fixative. Okay, so so endocervical sampling by means of IR type instrument requires 360-degree rotation of the instrument under pressure. And the principal cells types secured by the instruments are also shown, that these are columnar cells. The cells which may be bought is columnar cells, which are from the endocervical canal. The squamous cell, which can be from the other area of the outer area of the cervix, the light pink, and metaplastic cells, which are from the transformation zone. Then we use the cyto brush, and easier to introduce into narrow cervical canal because the hair fold down along the shaft and is likely to retain the cells. And insert around 2 centimeter until the brush is fully inside the canal. Rotate it only 180 degree because otherwise it will cause bleeding. So first we use the smear from the spatula, and then we introduce the brush. Then we make a pap smear as thin as possible. It should be as thin as possible, and properly labeled slide should be made. And then how to fix it? The spatula sample is spread over 50 to 60% of the slide, and the remaining area the endo brush is firmly rolled over. So two smears are made on the same slide, and they, without drying, it is dipped in a solution of equal part of 95% ethyl alcohol and ether. So equal part of 95% ethyl alcohol and ether is used as a fixative. The smear can also be fixed by fixative spray. Hair spray can be used, kept for 2 hours, and then sent for cytology, where it is stained using pap stain, Papanicolaou stain, and examined. So this is showing the pap stain, and the first one is generally which is kept in the OPD for the fixative is 95% ethyl alcohol and ether. This white colored container is present in our OPD. You can see when you come to us in the OPD. And then hairspray can be used for fixating this also. If you don't have the other thing, LBC nowadays we have replaced pap smear with liquid based cytology. How do we do it? LBC techniques involve rinsing all the material collected on the sampling device into a fixative fluid created for creating a cell suspension. So the plastic broom I had shown you earlier in the picture. Now the this one, first, second, third, fourth, fifth one, the blue and white one. This is used for taking a LBC, liquid based cytology. The anterior white portion is detachable. So you introduce the this brush, the broom inside the cervical canal, similarly as air spatula, and you take the sample after rotating it 2 to 3 times around the cervix, and then take it out, break the anterior portion and put it in the vial of the fixative given to you, and liquid suspension is sent to laboratory rather than the glass slide preparation. These are two types, the sure path and the thin prep. This is how we take the sample, apply gentle pressure until the surrounding bristles come into contact with the ectocervix and splay out across the cervix. The bristles are flexible, they splay out across the cervix. And then rotate the broom 5 times in the clockwise direction to obtain optimal amount of material. Do not rotate the broom anti-clockwise, as little or no sample will be collected, rendering the sample inadequate. The bristles are D-shaped and will only collect the material if rotated clockwise. It has to be rotated clockwise 5 times around the cervix. And then you put it, once collected, immediately rinse the broom head in the preservative solution. This is best achieved by pushing the broom into the base of the vial 10 times, forcing the bristles apart. Finally, swirl the brush vigorously to release the trapped material and further break down the previously released material. This is thin prep, and sure path is, once collected, transfer the material to sure path vial. To do this, place the thumb against the back of the brush head and push the entire broom head from the stem into the preservative. This is what we do in the OPD. Sure path, we break the anterior portion of the broom from the stick and put it in the vial. The whole plastic thing goes inside with the cells, and then the solution will have cells of the cervix. What are the advantages of why we have replaced this pap smear with LBC? Both are cytology. Both are based on inspection of the cervical cells by making a smear. So why we have changed from pap smear to LBC? There is no drying artifact. Sometimes there is delay in fixing the slide in case of pap smear. So in LBC there is no time is wasted in making a smear, and there is in that case we were making two smears on same slide, so there must be some drying artifact in the pap smear. Here it is not there. Blood, mucus discharge and other cells are removed and do not interfere with the interpretation. In the LBC, after we take the sample in the fixative, we centrifuge it, and whatever the cells we get as supernatant, those are shifted onto the slide. So in that process, the blood, mucus discharge and other cells, they are removed in the and they are not interfere with the interpretation of the result. And 80 to 90% cells are transferred in LBC as compared to only 10 to 20% in pap smear. So the results, the negative results, that inadequate sample, these results are lesser in LBC as compared to pap smear. That is why we have replaced the pap smear with LBC nowadays. Residual sample, another advantage of LVC is that whatever sample which is left after taking the cells, that can be used for HPV testing. The sensitivity of pap smear is 47 to 60% and specificity is 60 to 90% as compared to LBC, which is the sensitivity is around 90% and specificity is around 77%. So the inadequate testing report is lesser in LBC as compared to the pap smear. And the supernatant can be used for HPV testing in LBC, and in pap smear there is no such thing. Now we have done both the important screening methods. First is LBC and second is pap smear. Then we go on to the next method, which is used in low resource setting. It is visual inspection screening of the cervix. It can be of three types. One is unaided visual inspection, no, four types, and then aided visual inspection using acetic acid and acetic acid with low level magnification, and then villi, which is inspection using Lugol's iodine. Other methods which are generally lesser done are cervicography or speculoscopy or spectroscopy method using laser induced fluorescence. These are under experiment. They are not yet used by us. So, okay. So important are unaided visual inspection using acetic acid, visual inspection with acetic acid under low magnification, and visual inspection with leucoiodine. Unaided visual inspection using a speculum, cuspo speculum, and a light source. So we just see the cervix, and by look only with experience, we come to know any growth or any suspicious looking area, any erosion which bleeds on touch, or biopsy is taken from such area, and patient is referred to the higher center for further management. Okay. And then second is aided visual inspection using acetic acid. So if we apply 3 to 5% of acetic acid on the cervix and we examine it after 1 minute, abnormal area like patient having malignancy or CIN will look like well defined aceto white area to the naked eye, as acid cause dehydration of the cells. Why does it occur? The cervix becomes white on application of acetic acid. This acid, it coagulates the protein in the cells. Okay, so whole of the cervix, be it normal or malignant, will become white after application of acetic acid. But because the protein content of the cancer cells, it is much higher as compared to the normal cell. The normal cell will come to back to normal shade of light pink or dark pink earlier as compared to the cancer cell, which will retain its white color because the coagulation of protein has occurred and the protein is more in the cancerous cells. So white area will be abnormal after application of acetic acid. Okay, so abnormal area of cervical intraepithelial neoplasia and cancer cell will become dark white in color, and this white portion will remain longer for longer time as compared to the normal cell when the acetic acid is applied because of the coagulation of more amount of protein. Okay, it is indicative of high degree of squamous intraepithelial lesion, HSIL, or early stage cancer. Okay, so at that time only we can do a colposcopy. Colposcopy means we visualize the cervix in a higher magnification. You must have seen colposcope. It is there in the our OPD. Also, it is just a magnifying glass, 8-time magnification. We take a directed biopsy. Whatever abnormal area is seen, a more acetovite area which retains more acetovite area, and that is biopsy, and the patient can be treated at that setting only. It is 50 to 80% sensitive and 65 to 98% specific. The via. Okay. So abnormal area will look white in acetic acid. Another thing is visualized using the you apply acetic acid and the cervix is visualized using a handheld magnifying lens, not by colposcope. It is low level magnification. Then the other method is visual inspection with Lugol's iodine. The Schiller's or the Lugol iodine 5% is applied to the cervix, and it is examined with naked eyes immediately. The normal cells, they contain abundant glycogen. So glycogen, it reacts with the iodine and it becomes magni brown color, dark magni brown, while the normal area will be light brown. It is opposite to acetic acid. As in acetic acid, the abnormal area was pearly white, while the normal area was normal, pink colored. Here, the abnormal area will become light brown, while the normal area, because normal cells have more glycogen while cancerous cell have more of protein. Okay, so glycogen is present in normal cell, it becomes dark brown, while the abnormal CIN or invasive cancer contain little glycogen, therefore remain unstained with glucose iodine, giving it a mustard yellow color. Normal area will be light brown, dark brown, and abnormal will be light brown, mustard yellow. And then we do a colposcopy, means higher magnification, we see the cervix and then take a directed biopsy accordingly, and the patient is treated according to the report we get on histopathology. So this is how it looks. Abnormal area, the first one is after application of acetic acid, a large acetovite area around the external os at the region of the transformation zone after acetic acid application. Okay, and the villi positive, the second B slide, after lugol iodine application, the region is iodine negative. So they are opposite. The aceto white is abnormal. Here, the light brown is important. Next method of low resource setting is cervicography. In this, two photographs of cervix are taken, one before and after application of 3 to 5% acetic acid. And the films cervicograms, they are sent to the expert at a higher center. So it is in a low resource setting where pathologists are not present to read the slide. So they just, it is again a via only, it is visual inspection using acetic acid. Here the peripheral health worker, they take a picture of the cervix before and after application of acetic acid, and it is sent to expert at the higher center for later on interpretation, which are known as, these pictures are known as cervicograms. So it is only the same principle is same, application of 3 to 5% acetic acid. Then the third method, one we have done is pap smear. The other thing we have done is liquid based cytology, and then now comes the third is uh, uh, third method we have done is visual inspection, unaided, aided with acetic acid, and then leucoiodine. And fourth now comes is important is HPV testing. HPV testing is we directly screen for presence of human papilloma virus in the secretions, cervical secretions of the females. It is done after 30 years, because below 30 years HPV rate is higher. Because as I told you, all the sexually active females, they will inevitably have HPV infection, and generally after 6 to 12 months the HPV it itself, because of immunity of the female, it itself regresses. So below 30 years there is no need of testing of human papilloma virus, it will be there in all the females. Okay, so after 30 years, after acquiring, generally it regresses within 6 to 12 months. So if it retains, then it has to be followed whether it will lead to CIN 1, 2, 3 later on. So HPV testing, it is started after 30 years of age. Okay, it is done by polymerase chain reaction principle, and indication are when the patient woman is having report of pap smear or LBC as atypical squamous cell ascus of undetermined signification, or abnormal glandular cells, or CIN1 as a routine method with pap smear or alone. If HPV is positive in ascus, AGC or CIN, then treatment is recommended. Otherwise, patient can be observed for 6 to 24 months. Okay. So if HPV is present, this patient has to be followed up later on for whether this HPV get disappear on its own, or it needs to be, it leads to it progresses to further stages of CIN 1, 2, or 3, which need to be tested. So guidelines for low resource setting, at least one smear should be done at about 40 years for all women. All women below 40 years, at least one smear should be done. And 10 yearly smears can be done if multiple smears are not possible. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of India in 2016, it is recommended that at least visual inspection using acetic acid at least once in 5 years in all women between 30 to 65 years of age should be done. It is in setup like low resource like R. Okay. Otherwise, we have told the guidelines of all the ASCCP guidelines, like after 21 years, every 3 yearly, or if it is combined with HPV, after 30 years, it can be done every 5 yearly till 65 years of age. Now, what do we see on the pap smear? These are the superficial cells, intermediate cell, parabasal cell, and basal cell. These are the various type of cells, normal cells, which can be seen on pap smear. Now, how do we interpret the results of the pap smear? Pap smear, it can be shown as normal or atypical cells of undetermined significance, which can be infection or reactive cells or repair cells, or low-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, which is CIN1. The chyliocytosis is seen in lower one-third of the cervical epithelium, or it can be HSIL, high grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, which can be CIN2 or CIN3, or grade 5 pap smear is cervical, or patient already has squamous cell carcinoma. LCIL includes CIN1, which is mild dysplasia, coellocytosis because of HPV cytological effects. HCIL includes CIN2, moderate or severe, and severe dysplasia or carcinoma in situ in CIN3. Okay. Now, Bactericida system, the specimen can be conventional pap smear or liquid-based cytology. Both are same principle, and adequacy. The satisfactory for evaluation is when it contains sample of both from ectocervix and endocervix with more than 300 squamous cell with at least two cluster of 5 cells of each, and both it has to be told whether it is satisfactory for evaluation or it is unsatisfactory for evaluation. If the cells are less, how will the pathologist interpret the result? So it is satisfactory if the abundant cells are present. If they are less in number, then it is unsatisfactory. This unsatisfactory report, it is decreased by using liquid based cytology instead of pap smear. So this is the advantage of LBC. So generally, how it is categorized, pap smear, it is negative for any malignancy or lesion or epithelial cell abnormality is seen. On others are endometrial cells in women more than 45 years or other malignant neoplasm, if it can be seen. If it is negative for intraepithelial lesion, then organism or malignancy, then various organisms which can be seen are Trichomonas vaginalis, Candidiasis, bacterial vaginosis, actinomyces, herpes simplex virus, cytomegalovirus, various type organisms can be seen on the pap smear. Then if reactive, it could be glandular cells only after hysterectomy, cellular variation because of atrophy, keratosis, metaplasia. So various results interpretation can be seen on the pap smear report. So this is how inflammatory cells will be seen. Then various epithelial cell abnormality which can be seen are squamous cells, which can be categorized as atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance or HSIL. Atypical cells of high grade lesion cannot exclude HSIL, or low grade squamous intraepithelial lesion. So it could be atypical squamous uh, cells, or it could be low grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, or high grade intraepithelial lesion, or squamous cell carcinoma. So these four types of interpretation can be there. So atypical squamous cell can be of undetermined origin, or it cannot exclude HSIL. So these types of reports are generally encountered in PAP or LBC results. These are the various slides which can be seen: CIN1, CIN2, and CIN3, where most of the cells are, and the nucleoli are large, irregular, and indented. This is carcinoma. Now, other interpretation can be glandular cell abnormality. It could be endometrial cell, endocervical cell, not otherwise specified, or it could be adenocarcinoma itself. Why? Sometimes the endometrial cancer cells can also be picked in pap smear. So management, I don't think you people will require. If it is a high grade atypical squamous cell, then you directly take the patient for colposcopy and biopsy. If it is a undetermined significance, then you can go for repeat cytology after 6 months to 12 years. And HPV DNA testing can be advised to the patient. And if it is high risk HPV present, then colposcopy. If it is absent HPV, high risk is absent, then you can repeat the cytology after 6 to 12 months or go testing after 3 years. If it is a LCL, patient has to undergo colposcopy. If it is HCL or cervical cancer, then immediate colposcopy and biopsy should be done. Or if it is a glandular cells or adenocarcinoma, immediate colposcopy and endocervical biopsy and endometrial biopsy of endometrium itself should be done to rule out endometrial carcinoma. Okay. What about if the patient presents during pregnancy? The management is like non-pregnant state, and colposcopy can be done. But biopsy, it is done only if HSIL or suspicious for, if the result is suspicious for invasive cancer. So biopsy should not be advised during the pregnancy because it is very vascular. Only if there is suspicion for invasive cancer or high grade intraepithelial lesion, then only biopsy should be done. Endocervical curettage, it is contraindicated during pregnancy. So we will postpone all the things if it is undetermined significance or low grade squamous intraepithelial lesion till 6 weeks postpartum period. So after that we will again do the testing, and then if we get the results as HCL or other ASCUS or LCL, then further management can be done. This is how we do a colposcopy. Colposcopy, again, it is another method of screening of cervical cancer. It is defined as a procedure of visualization of cervix and lower genital tract under magnification. So magnification, it is only a magnification of what we see with the naked eye. It magnifies the cervix by 3 to 10, 20 times, and it is gold standard in evaluation of patient with abnormal cervical cytology, and the sensitivity is 50 to 80%. It is done only after the positive PAP or positive VIA or villi is results are there. Okay, so it is just a magnified view of the normal cervix, whatever is seen by the naked eye. What are the indications? If there is abnormal cervical cytology by PAP or LBC as persistent ASCUS with HPV positive or LCL or a high grade ASCUS, atypical cells or high grade squamous intraepithelial. Any abnormal cytology report is there, or unsatisfactory cervical cytology due to unexplained inflammation on unexplained cervicovaginal discharge. These are the indication of colposcopy. Abnormal, unexplained abnormal uterine bleeding, history of lower genital neoplasia, whether it is cervical, vaginal, vulvar, or post treatment surveillance. Colposcopy can also be done in the HPV positive patient. If the patient is high risk HPV positive, then also they need to be screened by colposcopy or via villi or PAP positive patient. This is a colposcope. Here we can visualize the cervix using a colposcope. It is just a magnifying glass. You should not do any, just 5 minutes more. No prior vaginal examination should be done, and clean the cervix with the normal saline and then apply acetic acid. Leave for 1 to 2 minutes and see for the acetowhite area. You can apply green filter for seeing the blood vessels and vascular pattern, and then you can apply after normal saline, then acetic acid, and then lugol iodine to see for abnormal yellow mustard brown color of cells, and then do the abnormal areas they are biopsied. So these are the abnormal areas which are seen on colposcopy. First is before, after cleaning with normal saline. Second is after application of acetic acid, and third is after application of leucolytin. These areas need to be screened with biopsy. Thank you.